our chef has done now, he is cooking up, we're going to do this sort of in tandem because to get the full flavor of the vegetables, if you cook them in olive oil, you really bring out that flavor, but you will better absorb what makes them healthy. Okay, so the part of the main course has already started, the olive oil with the onions cooking into it, and the garlic. Is the garlic in there, Frank? And the
garlic
okay.
is in here, yeah.
Okay. So that's going to be cooking up. The longer you cook that, you can't really hurt it. You might want to turn the temperature down slightly, but the longer you cook it, the better it will taste. He's using white beans, and I'll just say I mentioned this morning the canned beans, rinsing them off to get the mucky stuff off. Those are the faster way, but Frank will talk to you about using the beans from the dried, which taste much better.
What I did was, like Mary said, I don't allow any canned beans where I teach at the university. Students have to learn how to handle dry beans. And whether we boil them, steam them, pressure cook them, various ways. I let Mary and the other people get in the smell of them. When we cook beans and water taste like beans and water. And how you educate yourself is you take the beans, and I've worked with students from all over the world, and they put spices. So this particular one, I use cardamom pods, a lot of bay leaf, some parsley and water. These beans actually taste like cardamom. They taste like parsley. So when you drain them off, and I've cooked them like this, so this is really nice, and the skins are very, very tender on this. I do what's called a speed soak, where I bring the water to a boil, put the beans and let it sit for a half hour, drain it, because if you don't drain the water, they sell a product called Beano. You may have to use it. So, I mean, we don't want to go any farther than that. We'll let that slide. But we did now these, I couldn't find plum tomatoes, believe it or not, so they're absolutely incredible. Those beautiful grape tomatoes they sell in the market. They're excellent. And they look like little miniature pear tomatoes. So what I do is I just kind of chunked them up and put them in there. So now you have some really, let me just move this out of the way here. Okay. Have some really nice color. And then, of course, the herbs. These are fresh. Now, this is basil and this is chopped parsley. I did them fresh this morning. And one of the things basil does not like to be beaten on, or, pardon the pun, manhandled. The more you chop it, the darker it gets. Okay, and so technically I just hack it up because really basil has a wonderful taste. And just leaving it by itself without having torn leaves is one thing. So in goes the basil. And this is flat leaf parsley. That has probably the higher taste. Olives, these are the Kalamata. I don't know if it makes any difference.
No, they all have health benefits.
These are really nice. This has kind of that little salt kick to it. So we eliminate adding any extra sodium. So this goes in. And we'll just give this kind of a fluff around. So all we're going to add is just a couple of tablespoons of olive oil to this. And once again, the beans are going to really pick up a wonderful flavor when it's complete. I didn't add any salt. Beans generally don't have salt. And you're not supposed to cook salt, put salt in with beans anyway. But you want to just, this is actually a complete meal for a person. I mean, you got to get a nice loaf of baguette, and so you get a bottle of wine and drink the whole bottle. I mean, something has to happen. I mean, you can't be solely, pure with this
wine
thing.
Is actually very good for you. It's a very good food. It's thought to be better when it's with the meal because you have less being absorbed into the system. But there are many reasons to say that wine is good for you. When you see a problem with cancer, alcohol and smoking causes more oral and esophageal cancers. But even this book the cookbook that I alluded to this morning, it's designed more for women with breast cancer because that's my big area. But when you look at that literature, there really is not there's as many studies to say red wine is not related to breast cancer as alcohol might be related to breast cancer. Certainly the relationship from meat to breast cancer is much, much higher than alcohol. So that's a good message. I mean, red wine is good for you. But in women where you see a problem with alcohol, it's usually low folic acid, which is in leafy greens. So if you eat your leafy greens, spinach, kale, kohlrabi, broccoli rabe, if you eat your leafy greens, you'll get the folic acid that you need to drink your wine. So they go together.
There is a medicinal way to do it. We just drink it. We don't think about salt. We don't think about anything.
And that's the beauty of the Mediterranean diet it's a food pattern. And that's what I like to
Exactly.
study food patent. It's not this artificial combination of foods. Everything blends together. I mean, it just has this lovely way of looking and eating, and it's all so simple. That's what, I think the simplicity. And I know the chef's moving along here, so we'll hop in. Oh, okay, sorry, you say where you are, and then I'll talk about the capers for 1 second.
I asked Mary if I could add capers because it's a Mediterranean. Generally, everything flows with capers. A lot of people don't like them. You either like them or you don't like them. And I think one of the reasons why people don't like them is because they don't like that saline taste or that brine. I got up this morning, I drained the jar, I put them into a glass, and I just added some ice water from the refrigerator, a couple ice cubes, and let them sit. What happens, ice is, and cold water is a natural antiseptic. It actually draws it out. And if you actually taste these, you can actually taste a real caper and what a caper tastes like. Then you don't get that backlash of that brine that you're talking about. And interesting enough, we use all sea salt. We have, this is the fleur de sal, which is considered the best of all the sea salts from France. And something like the first entree, the appetizer that we did, we would sprinkle a little bit of salt on there. We have black salt, red salt. We have them as high. The most expensive one I use is about $38 a pound. It comes from Hawaii. It's a black sea salt. If a kid put a pound of that in water to boil something, I'd probably have a fit. But you use it as what they call a topical. It belongs on the top of a plate, so it has a little bit of crunch. It's more eye appealing. Sodium is sodium is sodium is sodium, technically. So that's how basically we use it. Now we've got this mixture here, which is a tomato, and I'm a canned tomato freak. I only buy one kind of tomato, and it has to have tomato only, no water, no citric acid, no salt. So I spent about 3 hours in the supermarket to get a quart of milk, because I think I read every label that Whole Foods has. I read every label Stop and Shop has, and I came up with my own simulation that I use these things because certain products, we do cook healthy. They pick on chefs. Because you go in my refrigerator school, I probably have 90 pounds of butter and 15, 20 quarts of heavy cream and gallons of duck fat. It's there, but we have to use it as part of our presentations. But every student is olive oil. They just grab olive oil. So they're all pretty much self-trained ever since they've probably been 10 years old. Now they're in their 20s. And everything is assimilated with olive oil. And of course, we make our own flavored oils. And we keep them refrigerated, so each student uses them, and they know enough to use them as a topical dressing on top of something to just give that added extra flavor to.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying this morning. I use the Whole Food, the 365 brand of olive oil for my cooking because they do take away the flavor. And then when I finish, I use the nicer ones and put those on the top, a little bit on the top, and it does bring out a better flavor.
So this pasta technically is done, and this is whole wheat. This is whole wheat penne. I went in the market this morning. I was very surprised to see about 12 different company brands of
the whole wheat ones. They
whole
really
wheat
come
pasta.
around.
Yeah, they really
There's
have
some of
come
them that
around.
are really tasty. There's a few that aren't, and I won't say the names on here, 'cause I don't want to say the bad ones, but Whole Food makes a good one. They also sell one that's called Bionatura. It looks like Bionatura. That's my favorite. It's really delicious. And they sell it at a price substantially less than other markets.
And this one I'm going to finish off with just barely 2 teaspoons of olive oil on the top. And if you ate into this, you could actually get the flavor of the oil. And of course, everything is, less is more. That's a terminology that we use in the food business. And we make just enough to make the food flavorful. We don't go crazy. You go to restaurants, they give you, now you try to find butter in a restaurant, it's hard. Today they give you a dish of olive oil, and you're sitting there dunking with bread, and I go home and I got oil stains all over my shirt. So now I'm like a little kid. I have to put a bib on when I go out to eat, and that's what happens. But we do it at home all the time. I mean, I'll just get all different flavors. My little family will just sit around. They just dunk bread, and of course, they get oil all over themselves.
And if you start to taste them, if there are different places where you buy them, the different olive oils, as we said, they taste different, but they taste different by the country. The ones like in northern Italy going into France are sweeter than the Sicilian and Tuscans, have a really rich flavor. So you can have I have a whole range in my house that I'll use for, depending on what I'm eating, I'll use a different olive oil. Thank you. Thank you very much,
for
Chef.
having me. Thank you.